Good evening, meat suits. Welcome back to RiaW, a podcast about movies and friendship. This is season 5, Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, and we are just 4 lonely men in a public bathroom playing a very long movie-watching game. I'm your host.
Hell yeah.
I'm Alex Falcone, recording from North Koreatown, Los Angeles. I'm joined from Southeast Portland. He's at Anthony Lopez Part 2 on Twitter. And I had no regrets until I met him, but now my regrets could kill me. It's Anthony Lopez.
Great to be here. You know, I don't like people doing this normally. You should be a very good friend to get away with this in my book. But after the last 2 weeks and inspired by one of my favorite actors, as a tribute to him, I'm giving everyone a pass this week to call me Tony. That's right. Everyone gets a Tony pass.
Yes, I've been waiting for this day.
Doesn't your wife call you Tony?
Yeah, I've been trying to get her to stop, but she just won't do it.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her razzing you.
Yeah.
I always thought people. I know people in our mutual circles that call you Tony, and I'm always. I would never. I've waited for you to say that you wanted it, so I've held back.
No, yeah. Out of respect for this week, it expires at the end of this podcasting.
Okay.
Oh man.
Tony is on the table, boys.
I love it. It's been kind of a bad week for Alex's in the public eye, so I'm happy that we have a name that we can celebrate. Also joining us today.
Reiterate also. Everyone can continue to call me Big Papa if they want to.
Oh, yeah.
He loves it when we call him Big Papa.
Yes,
I thought we weren't supposed to call you that on the podcast. I was supposed to call you that in our private conversations. But okay.
Also joining us, he's the co-host of the Old Gamers Almanac podcast. He's from the woods of Brooklyn. Actually, sorry, my recording must have broken. All I can hear is a strange sobbing sound. It's Hunter Donaldson.
Oh, that's like my favorite part of the movie. You can call me Tony this week too. By the way, I can also be a.
Oh
Tony,
yeah, I think that's a great honor.
Can
Also
we be
joining us,
Tony, like the.
Yeah, why not?
Also joining us from Northern California. I stole from his parents to feel close to him. It's Ezra Fox, but you can call him Big Papa or Tony.
Big Papa and the Tonys.
I think if I was smarter, I would have liked this movie more. I think that was my feeling.
Interesting.
I'm a little bit, because I know, Hunter, you said this is one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am a little I feel like it is good, but the idea that you, who's such a lovable dude, such a cheerful, friendly guy, that your favorite movie involves so much yelling is just a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's a movie about a toxic relationship, but I like my movies about all types of stuff. All right.
Yeah.
And I also I like what I really love about Wong Kar-wai is that his movies don't present any answers or really even questions. I would say actually they're mostly just I don't know. Are they thought?
Yeah.
It's sort of just like emotional exercises and cinematography is how we care. It's like if I could make movies like this, I would, but I can't. So I don't.
I don't know if you watched it, but on the Criterion collection for the release of this movie, there's a fascinating hour-long kind of documentary that's like half the making of, half deleted scenes, and I really want to get into this later, but the process of making this movie and the way Wong Kar-wai makes movies, especially this one, is so interesting.
It's like how a child would think that you would make a movie.
Yeah, I mean,
wait, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Well, it's the closest comparison I can do is the way like Terrence Malick has kind of like gone off the deep end making movies, but really just like literally taking a crew to Argentina and just figuring it out, man. That's what we're going to do. We're going to spend a bunch of weeks. I'm going to tell everyone it's going to be 3 weeks. We're going to be here for a few months, actually. And we have no idea what this movie's about. Literally, they had no idea that it was even going to be about gay lovers when they showed up in Argentina. It was originally, he has a quote that he's like, I pitched it as a road trip movie, but where they were coming from and where they were going to, we were going to figure out along the way.
That's cool.
But yeah, the only thing that makes me feel a little weird about that is that this is in a year before, and certainly sounds like a style of filmmaking without intimacy coordinators. And so to not tell them ahead of time, this movie is going to involve a lot of semi-violent intimacy.
Well, but also you have to keep in mind, everyone involved in scenes like that have been working with Wong Kar-wai for like years and years.
Right.
And
if
years.
you already love
There's
Wong,
a high level of trust
do whatever
between
for
everyone.
Yeah. Wait, so from IMDb, it said that Tony Leung agreed to do the film on the basis of a fake script. He only learned about the requirement of doing a gay sex scene after arriving to Argentina for filming.
Nice.
Which is that's a little bit of a thing to spring on a person.
Yeah, there's a ton
it
of
seems odd to do it that way,
subplots and characters that they filmed entire scenes for. Everything with like Chang's character.
I felt that. Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out with my experience of this film.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this movie fucking owns. This is a great,
we'll get back
great movie. I can't wait. Hang on.
We got more. We'll talk more about it in a second. First, I want to thank all of our fabulous meat buddies, our generous meat buddies, who have joined the Patreon and supported our show. Especially Zach, who said that he's a couple weeks behind, and so only just discovered the Patreon messaging system now. More about Zach later. If you want to join them and find out the special secret mailbox that could belong to you, go to Metreon.com. And we really appreciate everybody who supports the show. Okay, before we start talking about the movie, of course, it's news, and I've got some news for you. But first, let's go to our donut news correspondent, Ezra. What is the news from the donut world?
I want to say it's been nearly all quiet on the donut front. Hold on real quick.
The Krispy Kreme newsletter did not mention Hurricane Ian or anything. There's not a special Try Guys donut. No, there's so much going on.
Hold on, I got you. We're gonna celebrate Family Day.
Oh,
Family Day. Family Day is a thing, and you celebrate it with Krispy Kreme.
According to Krispy Kreme,
Krispy Kreme's also family, and it was. Fall flavors also is a thing that's happened. So you know that whatever fall is, apple, pumpkin, and maple pecan just happens along with some leaves, and that's your family. Your family is made of flavors, and that's what I know from Krispy Kreme today. My
mom wished me Happy Son's Day today, which is a day that we all celebrate and means a lot to us, as you know.
Is this true?
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it true? It's a thing that Facebook made up, probably. But yeah, like just as much as any of these days that people make up are true. Yeah. Mother's and Father's Day, I feel like are grandfathered in. But all the sibling days, the son-daughter days, it's too much. We have too many days. I don't need it. But other news. Okay, so this is going to be two personal newses and then a national news. The first personal news, my newest episode of We Live in the Future is available on YouTube, youtube.com/AlexFalcone. This week I talked about Alien Invader from 1993, starring Billy D. Williams, who you guys all know from the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special.
Obviously.
And from
I already watched it, Alex, so I already heard that Star Wars. You just teased your joke again. Why did you do that?
I'm teasing the joke here. It's like when you see a preview of a movie, they show you one of the jokes from the movie.
All right,
and then
well,
you're like,
audience, since you've heard it here first, you can skip to about 30 seconds in because you've already heard the joke of the first 30 seconds.
Well, so anyway, Alien Invader is a wild movie. I think this is just like, so this is a lot like the one we talked about with Mark Hamill, where it seems like they took one star, spent 99% of the budget on it, and are like, we'll just make that money back on his name alone, and the rest of the movie is very sloppy. But the main thing, the main point of this movie, since you guys have not seen it, is that there's these guys on this long space mission, and their payment for being on the space mission is that they get to spend their weekends literally from the time they clock out at 5 p.m. till they start work again at 8 a.m. on Monday. They spend in a sex pod, which is like, it like puts you to sleep and you are in some sort of fantasy dream world where you do sex, but also other stuff. Like there's plot. Like one of the guys is like
fuck tricks.
You're in the fuck tricks. Yeah. See, this is, I should run these videos by you guys before I post them, because now I wish I had said
nobody can be told what the fuck tricks is. You must see it for yourself. And you need to take the blue pill because it's Viagra. It's what the blue pill is.
That's good.
What do you call it?
I'm pitching Bang Tricks. I like the A.
Oh, Bang Tricks, also good.
Yeah, can we do Bang Tricks? Because Fuck Tricks kind of threw me for about 5 seconds. It took me about 5 seconds.
That's kind of like it's like, I would also think that's like probably has already been copyrighted as like maybe like stunt sex work, right? Where it's like it's tricks, like a 360 or like an ollie or whatever.
It's also sort of like a dominatrix, but you just do sex without dominating.
Yeah.
It's like equality version. You're just
trying to do a 900.
That's
whatever
sex.
That means.
Alex.
Well, no, if you do it professionally. So they all have their like elaborate fantasies, and one thing that I think was interesting that you guys might think is interesting, like the idea of going into a game world or a sex world or a fantasy world, whatever, from 5 p.m. Friday to 8 a.m. Monday. Like, doesn't that seem a little bit exhausting? Like, it's like take some of the fun out.
Have you ever played like any of the like massively multiplayer online games? This is basically this is about right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people are already doing this. Yeah. Essentially.
Well, the weirdest thing is they do when they wake up on Monday, they're like shaking out cramps and stuff. It's like it does not seem like they're well rested, and presumably they're like covered in goo. It seems weird. I don't like this.
Just because the thing is addictive doesn't mean it's good for you. I think this is the dark side.
No, you're right.
Plugs.
I think actually probably low correlation between those two.
Addictive things as being very healthy.
Okay, all right. I gotta argue against myself. There must be one thing that's addictive and good for you. I'll just figure out what it is, and I'll get back to you.
I mean, water.
Yeah,
food,
breathing.
Air. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Can't get out of
bad water addiction, guys.
I would say we all have
water.
a crippling breath addiction.
God, you're just always drinking water. Oh my God.
Well, I will admit it. I've been an enabler. I'll chill some water for you if you're going for a run.
Yep, it's messed up.
You're trying to push water on people.
Yeah, I love offering. Whenever somebody comes to my house, first thing I gotta do, offer them water, and the first one's free.
So that's also the second one.
All of them are free. Yeah, it's unlimited, but I don't tell them that. I just say the first one's free, which is technically true. Anyway, we live in the future. Alien Invader. That's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AlexFalcone. And then the second thing, which is personal news, but has the thing that you guys might be interested in. So I posted a TikTok yesterday where I told a story of. I think I told you some versions of the story when we were talking about Rounders. But the story is about like how I like watch Rounders and I really wanted to be a poker cheat. And then I met this guy who was like a professional poker cheat. And then he turned out to be a piece of shit, kind of like Worm from Rounders. And so I was like, oh, maybe he's not the hero of that movie. And then I got into magic instead, just like Edward Norton from The Illusionist.
Anyway, I like to think that Edward Norton, after seeing Rounders and being in it, was like, you know what? Maybe I should take the hero role next time. I got to be a magician.
Well, like several people have pointed out, they were worried when I said I was like inspired by another Edward Norton role, that I was going to say American History X.
Oh,
which would have been a much darker turn.
Or I thought you were going to go with the Incredible Hulk. Yeah,
the Hulk was another option that people have mentioned.
Yeah.
So I tell that story, and it's about this like Edward Norton arc that my life has. And the showrunner of Billions follows me on TikTok. I don't know if you guys know this. And so he comments and he just goes, "Hi, Alex." And I was like, "Oh, it's the guy from Billions. Hi, Brian." Just matching his casual tone. And then he goes, "I'm just glad to see the movie still resonates," because I didn't realize the showrunner from Billions is Brian Koppelman, who is the writer of Rounders and also a producer on The Illusionist.
Wow.
It's
all connected.
Imagine like watch the guy, this like dork you already follow tells a story where he's like, "Hey, incidentally, the two most important things in my life are your two works from the early 90s. What a day for Brian.
I mean,
and
also,
I guess what a day for me that he just happened to like slide into the
everyone
comments.
Wins.
Unless he's like, I guess Billions isn't really connecting with Alex though. That's not making an impact on
everything else that Brian's done.
I have. Are you guys big Billions followers? Have you guys all watched Billions?
No,
I don't watch it.
I've only watched the first season, but because I do because it stars Pig Vomit, and I like him a lot. But he's really into rough sex, and I don't like that, or prosecuting people, or being a billionaire. Like, it's really not for me. There's nothing in that.
Those are all on the same level to you?
That is appealing to me.
Yeah, those are the three things that Alex is not a fan of.
and in equal parts.
He does at one point. He does like make someone who like clean up after their dog who wasn't going to, and I did like that. I would never, but I like that.
It's good.
But anyway, it was crazy. It was such a delightful turn, and it is interesting for like some movies have huge impacts on specific parts of the culture. Like Rounders did set off the poker boom in America, among other things, but it was definitely a trigger of that. So
set off the bad Russian accents boom.
Yeah, I should make another movie about how I talked like that for months and months after. Pay that man his money. Yeah, it was really annoying. All right, and then one more thing in movie news, not personal. You can see that, by the way, at tiktok.com/AlexFalcone, I believe, or at AlexFalcone. Anyway, you can find me on TikTok. It's pretty good. And actually, that one did pretty well. I also had a viral tweet yesterday. It was a crazy day for me. But not personal news. Also in the news yesterday, Thomas the Hank Engine said in an interview he has only ever made 4 good movies, but he did not specify what 4 movies those were. So from Tom
Weird.
Hanks's oeuvre, what do you think are the 4 good movies that he's
Oh my
made?
God.
I know
Joe
it's
and the
not on it.
Volcano.
Joe and the Volcano, obviously.
Pinocchio. Sully. And
A lot
you're
of people
News
suggesting
of
here
the
is
World.
Tom
A lot-
Hanks is not really a Tom Hanks connoisseur, is what
Yeah.
you're
Not
saying.
for me.
Tom Hanks has bad Tom Hanks taste.
I think that's
But no.
exactly right.
But no, seriously, what is it? It's probably like A League of Their Own,
A
Castaway.
League of Their Own's got to be up there. Yeah.
I think he's got to put.
Apollo 13. Please,
Nope.
guys, I've been
Oh,
waiting. It's
yeah.
taken too long. Say
I
Apollo
don't-
13.
not
Just say
there.
He's
Apollo
only-
13. We
he's
all
only
know the
got
right answer to
4.
this.
It's not there. Sorry.
I don't know if he feels that way about Apollo 13.
And
I
it's
mean,
Splash.
Big.
Big or
Yeah,
Splash.
Big's
definitely gotta
probably
be
up
in
there. I'm afraid he's Saving
The
Private Ryan.
Burbs.
I'm afraid that that a lot of people would put Forrest Gump on there, which I would not. But
yeah,
the,
I don't think he
like
would
the,
either.
the Variety article about this quote
Oh, I
definitely
would
mentioned
love
that.
to hear him trash that movie. That would be
Several
so funny.
people have just said, "You mean Toy Stories 1 through 4?" Which is a great answer.
That's a good line, yeah. Well, I mean,
Wait, I have a
which-
list for
which-
that you did.
which
did he
two
say
did
it?
he win the Oscars for? It was Forrest Gump and
Philadelphia,
what was
wasn't
the
it?
second? Philadelphia, yeah. Oh yeah,
Mm.
Philadelphia is definitely probably up there.
Philadelphia is the only lock, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
Philadelphia
true.
has to be on there, but I don't know. After that, I have no idea.
I mean, Green Mile. There's a lot of. He's been in a lot of banger. Which is of all the actors that could just say that only 4 of my movies are good. I mean, this is a hilarious troll from Thomas. I think this is a great move.
So here's what I have on this EW article, I guess, where it's on a podcast, I guess, episode of Bill Simmons' podcast last year. He was asked to rank his favorite films, excluding Forrest Gump, and he listed Cloud Atlas, A League of Their Own, and Castaway.
Interesting. Okay,
But he was based
So
on
that
the personal experience he had working on the films, he said.
right. He doesn't mention That Thing You Do or Larry Crown, like he doesn't mention his own movies in there. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Cloud Atlas is interesting.
Yeah,
The
wait, really? You wanna-
Wachowski.
Cloud
Hey.
is not the best movie, but
Maybe he had a great time on it, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just had fun.
I really enjoy Cloud Atlas just because I like big swings. Like, I don't think it's a
Mhm,
great
mhm.
movie,
Definitely is
but
that.
like all
No,
the
it's wild, yeah.
Wachowskis, like all the Wachowski movies, it is just such a big
Confusing.
bold swing. You know, it's like
Yeah.
and I really like respect what they were going for there. And maybe that's Tom's appreciates people whose reach exceeds their grasp type of filmmakers.
Before we leave, did anybody watch Sully by chance?
Never watched
I've been
it.
meaning to see it. I've heard from a lot of people I respect that movie fucking owns, and I
Does
just
it
never
really?
gotten around to see
The idea of making a movie that lasts significantly longer than the event it's describing is weird for me. Like the thing that happened, like Sully did an awesome job landing that plane, but it was just like, we're going in the Hudson, and then 4 minutes later we landed in the Hudson, and they dragged that out to a full length film is just wild.
Well,
like,
I don't think the movie's really about the landing in the Hudson. You know what I mean? I think it's got kind of deeper things.
It's about the Hudson's in
there.
each of us.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Captain
Let's wrap on
Phillips.
that.
Captain Phillips is another one that I think people sleep on a lot. Really, really good Tom Hanks performance.
This is
in
what
a
I love
very
about
good
this
movie.
troll is that he's done a lot of pretty
Yeah.
good films. That's very
Yeah.
funny. Obviously,
Polo
Apollo 13 is the
Express.
best one, but we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on. We have a lot of game to talk about today,
Yeah.
so we'll
But
talk
no,
about
I mean,
this movie in
honestly,
segment two.
seriously, Apollo 13 is not in like the top 10 best.
Stop it!
Tom
It's
Hanks movies.
obviously
It's a
the
good
real
movie.
answer.
But he's been
We're
in a lot
moving
of good movies.
You hear this thing? We're moving on. All right, it's time for segment 2, the game this week. For the game, as you know, we're playing a year-long movie watching game, which is coming to a close. We're 3/4 of the way through our movie watching game, and the way that this works is each week we try to, whoever's up next tries to navigate us to their pre-selected movie, and then you get points if it gets to the movie that you wanted. But you can only go through Kevin Bacon rules. You get it right, I think. Hopefully by now.
I've gotten
Anyway,
so good at explaining it. You know,
I think it's just what I love about this is the graspable pitch of the show.
Hold on. Can we just look? We'll do just the one car Y thing, right? Where we'll make the whole season, and then we'll fix it in post and cut it all up, and it'll make sense, and people will
You'll
love
be
it.
very clear on what the main storyline of this game.
absolutely.
what do you think the game is about, listener? That's what this is about.
Yeah.
That's what's going on in this
We
game.
need the
Anyway,
VO
this
going.
week for the game, we watched Happy Together, the 1997 Hong Kong romantic drama film directed by Wong Kar-wai, starring Leslie Chung, and most importantly, Tony Leung Chihuahua. The Chinese title of this is an idiomatic expression meaning the exposure of something intimate, and is not at all related to the 60s love song Happy Together. If you have not, actually, first, this was picked by Hunter. Hunter, why did you, and this, you picked this week and you picked this as your target. Tell us why you did both of those things.
I wasn't really thinking about it that much, to be honest. It was a long time ago that I picked this movie.
It's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and I was just kind of thinking that I hadn't seen this one in a while, and last year I bought that big old box that Criterion made of all of Wong Kar-wai's movies, and this was the next one I needed to watch in the box. So I was like, you know what? Let's just make that part of the game. And then
7 months passed.
I knew I had messed up right away because I was like, oh wait, that's the one. There's only 3 actors in that movie.
You picked not only a movie from a different country than the other movies we've been watching for the most part, but also with the smallest cast possible.
I know, and it's like most Wong Kar-wai movies have small casts, but like I picked one that especially really just focuses on scenes with mainly these 2 actors.
Yeah,
and
the third actor doesn't even show up for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
The third actor's only in the movie because one of the actors was traveling and doing something else, I think, during this time. And Wong Kar-wai was just like, well, let's keep shooting. Let's have
Leslie Chung is he passed away not too long ago, but he was a huge pop star in China as well as an actor. And he had to go back on tour. He's actually the one, I believe, which is it's kind of like a weird fourth wall breaking thing, but the cover of Happy Together at the end of the movie, the live version, is from a Leslie Chung show he did. That is him covering Happy Together over,
sort of like the way Will Smith did Wild Wild West at the end of Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Very much.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just like
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's right. I feel like I looked at the credit for that song and it was not Leslie, but I don't know. I haven't.
I thought I read somewhere that was him covering that, but I could be wrong.
It was performed by Danny Chung.
There we go. That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but
I don't know who that is.
All right. You know what? I like Anthony's version better, so we're gonna stick with
that.
Leslie Chung does the cover
is
at
fine.
the end. Okay, so for those of you who've not seen Happy Together, allow me to summarize as best as I can. So Ho and Lai are a gay couple from Hong Kong who like to fight a lot. That's like their main hobby together. And then they like to break up and then they like to get back together. Those are like their 3 things they do. So they go on vacation together to Argentina to try fighting in a different climate.
Chain smoke cigarettes. They also
really smoke a lot. Yeah, they do smoke a lot. They do drink pretty heavily. Yeah. So they have 5 hobbies. But the main one is fighting. So they go on vacation to Argentina to fight in a different climate, and they get horribly lost going to visit a waterfall, and so they just live there now. Which is a thing that can happen to you if you travel, apparently.
Before cell phones, yes, it could happen.
Well, getting lost, but also before, like, even regardless of a cell phone, apparently you can just show up somewhere and not have enough money to come home. And then you just, like, live there now, which is crazy. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, they break up and they try a variety of jobs and lovers, including meeting a person who could be a potential lover, a dishwasher version of Daredevil, who would actually be a better match for both of them than they are for each other.
If I may, Dish Devil.
Dish Devil. Thank you. Yes.
Ezra? You may. So then they get back together for one last abusive push to see if it can work, and then they break up forever. And like all Wong Kar-wai movies, it ends with somebody whispering a secret into a building. And that's the movie. And if you were concerned, if you were confused, the title is ironic. They seem unhappy together, and that's the movie.
Yeah, it was a question mark. Happy together, and the answer is nope.
Yeah, yeah. It's like anytime there's a news article that's like, "Are such and," it has a question mark. Like, is so and so in Spain invading? The answer is always no. It's like that. This title is like happy together for sure not. All right, so that's the movie. Hunter, how'd I do?
That was a short. No, you did it. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, there's never a lot that happens in these movies as far as story content.
I said in all Wong Kar-wai movies, but only all Wong Kar-wai movies I've seen end with somebody whispering a secret into a brick.
I think I think you might be onto something. I think most of his films end with some sort of secret being whispered. You know what I mean? And then someone they don't get what they want, and then they just kind of look off into the distance, or maybe they're gonna get what they want, but we don't know because it's time to go. You know what I mean? Like it's like.
I like that description of the ending too. It's like, yeah, this might work out, but we gotta go.
We gotta go.
We gotta kick rocks. I got an appointment in the morning, so like, we gotta head out.
It's funny when you get to the end of one of his films because they do all end very dramatically, but because they're so thin on plot or they're not focused on story, it feels like any of them could end at any point, and they just decide like, all right. Obviously, this is the end of the story that we were telling, and you're kind of like, well, okay, I guess. Like, if you want us to go now, we should go.
That is one of the things they cover in that documentary is that originally it was going to end at the waterfalls.
Right.
It seems like a logical ending place.
It wasn't quite done, and they got a chance to film in Taiwan, so they went and just filmed this other ending.
It's great. Like, I love that so much.
Yeah,
I was a little bit confused about the Taiwan scene because it seems like, so he's like, I was in Taiwan, so I went and got some soup at the night market in Taiwan, and it was owned by Dish Devil's parents. And cool. I assume it's a big market. I mean, I assume that there's a lot of soup stalls, and so the fact that he picked.
Well, okay, I got to tell you something about that ending in my experience, because the first time I watched this movie, I think I was like 22 or something like that, and I had been watching through his filmography, and I had seen Chungking Express and Fallen Angels before this one. Both those movies feature a lot of pop music, and it'll be the same music played relentlessly over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was called Happy Together. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to be hearing the Turtles song Happy Together over and over and over for this entire movie. And I sat there like expecting that. So I show up and I'm
trick.
Like, let's watch this movie. I want to hear this music.
Can't wait to hear Happy Together 80 times.
And I was like excited for it to be like a fun, uplifting one. They're not all uplifting, but like some of them, I mean, really, it's just Chungking Express is very uplifting. So I thought, oh, this one's going to be really nice. And then it wasn't very nice at all. In fact, it was quite dark and sad. And there was no Happy Together until the very, very end of the movie. So I liked that surprise punch of that song being dropped in there.
Yeah, I also was like assuming that it was going to be needle drop time any second now, and he very patient on the
really made me wait
for that song.
I do love the score of this movie. This
chaotic, there's a lot of great music in it,
like jazz rock, surfer rock kind of thing. When it goes from like jazz to like very aggressive guitars, it kind of just. With like a lot of this movie, a lot of sort of Wong Kar-wai movies, is that sort of like the emotional reality is so important to his films, right? Like he's really good about like painting and portraying the way these characters are feeling, and that like that infects and changes the way it's shot, right? The way this movie uses like color is a really good example of like. It's the first bit of it's all black and white.
Finish your point, and then we'll come back to color. Yeah,
and then like the music is also that same way. It's like discordant and like chaotic and very filled with emotion. And like the way this movie sort of like has, like Shrek, this movie's an onion, man. The shit goes deep in terms of like not a lot happens.
Like, not like Shrek the movie, but like Shrek the person.
Yeah,
not Shrek the idea, the concept, or the emotion. Related to Shrek.
But you can like sort of one of the things I really love about Wong Kar-wai is that his movies you can either like you can just sort of decide how deep you want to go, right? You can like watch this movie as a very surface level thing and just like follow the story of this like very codependent, troubled relationship and this character ending up at a hopeful place. Or you can like go a layer deeper and like start to figure out like the idea of like people who have no real home because of who they are and of what's going on in their life and are literally in a different place. Or you can go a layer deeper than that and like you can get into this idea of like expats leaving because they don't fit in right, or you can go deeper later than that and like learn into like the historical context of this movie being released the same year that Hong Kong was given back to the
Handover.
Chinese government
Right.
government from British colonial rule, and the
Right.
way like these people are like the way like it is like also besides just being like a really great queer story that I think like works even if they were a straight couple, this movie would work just as well. Them being queer is very sort of like it's very important to like the thematic stuff, but it could also just be incidental to the plot. They're not portrayed as anything it's like different or unique about them because they are queer. It could just be a normal love story, but also this like this idea of like this being from Hong Kong where he's from, so he's given more freedom than he would be if as a director. Wong Kar-wai is given more freedom making films in Hong Kong than he would be if he was making films in mainland China. And the idea of like that now being up in the air because the changeover was about to happen and Hong Kong's about to go into Chinese rule, and like the freedom that he might have to make films like this might not be there. And so it's just like this movie is like depending on how much you want to dig into it and how much you were like willing to sort of let it flow through you, kind of like a giant waterfall, you might say. You could like there's just so much here. There's so much meat on this thing that doesn't look like it has it. That's the thing I love about these types of movies. And a filmmaker like this is it looks really thin, but it's an illusion. It's so deep and complex. It's amazing. This movie's like a magic.
I will say there's a few things that I want to talk about from that. I want to break that apart. The first one is color. So the movie, part of the movie is in black and white, and then at that point it was early enough on that I was like, I'm sure I've seen color before, right?
The first shot is in color.
Right. This is what I'm saying. Right? So I'm like confused. Was there color? No. Okay, there was color for sure. And then now it's black and white for a while. And they're like, okay, so then color comes back. We're like, oh, there must be a pattern. It seems like maybe, here's my guess, when they're together, it's in color. And when they break up, it's black and white. And then the movie is like, nah, that pattern does not hold. We're just going to do it sometimes. So is there a different pattern I'm missing? Why is it sometimes not in color?
When it looks cool?
Is that it?
I mean, it's also a movie in which huge sections of this film are filmed upside down as well, right?
I like that.
Not huge sections. There's one little piece, and it's a good joke. It's a good joke where he has a dream, and he's like, I wonder what it's like upside down. And so then they film it upside down for a while.
So I really like that comment and that moment in the movie because they did choose Buenos Aires because I guess that's true. That it is the exact opposite side of the world. I didn't even know that was true until I was looking at stuff today. But I think the answer... I mean, if you ever want to break something down cinematography-wise in Wong Kar-wai, the easy, simple answer is that this was a choice made because they were trying to portray the emotions of that character, their inner life in the film, and so they were like, I don't know, feels like black and white Tony right now, and not in color Tony. It's not. If you ever catch yourself being like, oh, there must be some sort of structural logic. I don't feel like that's always there, but there is a lot of in the moment emotional logic that I feel like the movie is always in service to, and I would say most of his films work on that level. First and foremost.
I mean, I think the black and white
of like a straightforward, like it's black and white when they're broken up and it's colored together. That'd be a fun idea. I guess that's just my idea for a movie that he didn't have. So
I don't.
That's something I could just do because I thought of that.
I just think he might be a little more jazzed than that. You know what I mean?
Like seems more jazzed than that.
Up a little bit more.
What I love is if you did that. If you did in my idea that I had that Wong Kar-wai did not have. If I did that, because there's one scene that's just like briefly in black and white, and the idea that you have like this couple that breaks up a bunch of times, and then at one point they're together and it's all in color, and then somebody like runs into an old friend and they go out and get a drink, and then it's black and white for just that scene, and then it goes back to being in color, that there's like, oh, there's an emotional breakup that's happened and they don't even realize. Like you could do some fun stuff with that in my movie that I came up with.
I mean, the black and white isn't necessarily like, I think Hunter was right. It's the sort of like ennui and depression of like him arriving in Argentina. They break up, but he's like stuck there. He's stuck in this bad job. He doesn't like it, and it's not until like the guy, like his lover, is like literally coming to his restaurant to taunt him right? To like
Yeah.
peacock on him, essentially, like just bringing guys there over and over again. And it's like the worst part of his life. He's completely lost. He has no color in it. But then, like, once he sort of becomes back in his life, he gets, his emotions start to get riled up. He starts to get angry. He starts to get emotional. Color comes back. But from that point on, even when they're separated, his life is on an upward trajectory, so the color stays, right? Like, even when they break up,
he's working at a better restaurant.
He's working at a better restaurant. He's working at the slaughterhouse, which they mentioned very importantly is back on
He's got his new friend, Dish Devil.
Right? Yeah, but it's back in a part of his old life. And it is...
It was to the point
because the color stays there, because
the black and white looks so cool that I was kind of like, well, I hope he gets sad again so I can see more of Buenos Aires in black and white.
Black and white, yeah.
Because it was cool. You mentioned, Hunter, early on that it was like, what was your description of Wong Kar-wai? It was like a lot of interesting emotions and cinematography.
Yeah.
I liked the cinematography of this so much. Like, he did not give us like the touristy version of Buenos Aires. It was mostly like the back sides of kitchens and like flop houses and like a lot of scrambled eggs and
like one restaurant, and you don't even really see the inside of it, mostly outside.
And it makes it seem super cool. I like the way, especially greasy food. I like the way Wong Kar-wai sees greasy food, or his cinematographer sees greasy food.
It's
really
feels so
compelling.
Uncomfortable the whole time. I think just like a lot of the places we're hanging out are not comfortable places to be, both physically and emotionally.
Well, okay, so the Flophouse didn't seem super safe, but also the tile work was incredible.
Yeah, and you're not like, it doesn't make you feel homely to be at a place in which your landlord is constantly being yelled at by the same two women every single time you see him.
Yeah. I did like that part.
I did enjoy that. I like that kitchen that they had to go hang out in. I loved this old timey thing of somebody having to answer the phone and yell at you that the phone is for you. And I like this guy just kind of like inserting himself into the middle of your fights over the phone all the time. It was cute. It was just a fascinating little, like, look at this little piece of the world you've never been to.
That dude should have gotten an IMDb credit, though. Would have been easier to get to the movie, right?
Wait, was one of yours that you could have found him in something else?
Absolutely.
Oh,
man. He inserts himself in everything. I bet he was in a Vita.
I want to ask y'all a question. So so this is a story about, two people that have a lot of really toxic traits, and I would say they're both at a pretty low point in their lives. Did either of you struggle, did any of you struggle?
No, you can ask the dumb ones. You can focus the question.
Well, I'm just
I know
curious.
Anthony didn't struggle, so did you guys have any trouble?
That was not on purpose.
Look, can either of the dummies tell me what the theme of this movie was?
Can we just? I was saying at
can
all.
I get just the children's opinion of how this movie affected you?
All right, fine. I'll just ask Alex. So just for Alex,
middle of the pack.
Did you?
Best of the rest.
How did you feel about these two people? Did you find it easy to get invested in them, or did you get invested in neither of them? How did you feel about these two characters? Because I don't
remember which names are which or which actors are which. There was, I thought,
B and Ho, right? Ho is the really bothersome one. Fia is Tony Leung's character.
Yeah,
this didn't help me at all, but I appreciate
the guy who got beat up.
All right,
it's
the guy
Tony
with the
Leung
hands. Who's the guy with the broken hands?
That's Ho.
That's Leslie.
That's Ho. Okay, so I thought of Lai as the good boyfriend and Ho as the bad boyfriend for the most part. I mean, I have not been in a relationship this bad or a bad one at all, so I have very little to like personal experience to associate with. Like, I just generally, my feeling is like, if someone is not nice to you, you shouldn't hang out with them. That's like a little simplistic, but so I do have a little bit of trouble of seeing why they are still starting over.
Right.
And they're like, I do feel like the film could have given me a slight hint of the thing that they actually had in common at one point. There was like, just, I mean, like, if there's a thing that you had before and you're chasing that high, I get that. There just wasn't much of a hint as to why they were still doing this. And then also, good boyfriend did throw a bottle at his head, which is very abusive, and then also hid his passport, which is extremely abusive.
Yeah, that's extremely no good.
Very
Passports
no
are hard
good.
to find enough. Like, when no one's being a jerk to you. Honestly,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, which box did you put your passport in?
I don't know.
Fortunately, they had actually there was a great scene where he was like, "Did you search the drawer?" Because they have one drawer. It's a very small apartment. There's only a drawer that things could be hidden in. Did you go through the drawer when I was gone? Anyway, but yeah, that was my big. And actually, I'm not even sure. Did he get the passport back?
Well, he went back.
He gave it back.
He left it.
Well, he
at
came,
the
but he
place.
knocked the door, and then the hallway was empty.
But then
Yeah,
no, I
but
think
the
he went in
passport was
there.
on the
It was-
table.
It was
got it.
skipping
Okay.
forward in time.
He left in there. Yeah.
One thing about this movie also was just from the way it's edited is the time jumps were much harder to follow for me than a lot of other movies. It took me like to get his pacing on like, oh, that's a time jump we just did. It was very abrupt and not super. He does not bother with establishing shots or anything else. Like he gives you no hints. He gives you no quarter if you're lost in his movie.
All I really know about the time in this movie is that it takes place over seemingly a very long period of time, and his hands
getting
must
jobs
have
takes a
been
while.
really fucked up because his hands are in those bandages for a very long
bad.
time.
Really
But
long
then
time.
his hands get out of the
hands
bandage.
to heal.
He gets his hands out of the bandages, and then they never discuss it. They're not like, oh hey, great news, congratulations, you have hands again. They never talk about it at all. He just disappears one day and comes back, and his hands are fine. And the guy's like, where were you? Were you kissing?
Alex, I want to see like your cut of like a Wong Kar-wai movie with like these little details added in of the
All the
audience
continuity
being
that we need.
informed. Like,
Well, it depends
my
on how much
hands are
did they-
now better. Audience, wait.
Look,
like,
okay. Look, I'm not just like I want to hear. It's something I want every tiny thing resolved. It was like
I
his
hear you.
broken hands was like 40 minutes of the driving force of the film and keeping stuff
Right.
the way it was,
Yeah.
and then he gets them out, and neither of them acknowledge. I feel like there would be at least one scene where you're like, "Oh, look at this! Look at wow! Look at what I can do!" And
You know
nothing.
what? This
Zero
movie felt
things.
like it was basically like it's kind of a little bit the way I cook, where just like by the end of me cooking, every single cabinet we have in the kitchen is open, and then you just leave after that, right? Where it's like there's no, you don't really have to
Just
finish
give
up.
it up.
Yeah.
Actually, Ezra, I don't remember. I don't know if you were not on our in the Mood for Love episode, right? That was like a long time ago now. That was like 2 years ago, I think, or something like that. Jeez. Is this the first film of his that you've ever seen?
Yes, although I was aware
Okay.
of In the Mood for Love because of like Every Frame Painting did stuff on it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a cool dude who I should check out at some point, but I hadn't.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm sorry because as I was watching this, I was thinking about that, and I actually think this is the worst one to watch first because of some of the stuff Alex was talking about. This one, the language, the film language that they use in this one feels very like, okay, so you get how it works, so here, let's do all this now. Like one example that I'd noticed with this movie that you get a lot in the ones that come before this is messing with the frame rate. They did that all the time in this movie, but on a very nuanced level. Like it almost looked like the movie was glitching slightly, but it would just slow down a moment, right? So in Chungking Express and in As Tears Go By and all the films leading up to this, they use that effect, but like for like action scenes and for like big moments where you can kind of click in and be like, wow, they're doing some really cool kind of frame rate trick. But by the time you get to Happy Together, they're like, yeah, we can do that. And we'll just do it randomly just a little bit as like kind of a nuanced, weird thing that if you don't know that they do that, I feel like it actually just looks like the film is messed up.
Yeah.
So that is to say that I feel that way about, to the listener as well. If you are thinking about getting into Wong Kar-wai, I think Happy Together is like the one you watch after watching quite a few of them, actually.
Yeah, and
I would say this is my least favorite of the three that I've seen. I liked Chungking Express a lot, and I liked In the Mood for Love a lot. And this one had things that I liked, but didn't quite gel for me the way the other two did. Even though both of them also were like, hey, we give you no quarter if you're confused. Like both of them were still confusing.
Right.
But this one did feel, I don't know, a little bit less satisfying and a little bit more.
It's also, it's the darkest one. Like Days of Being Wild, which is another one with Leslie Chung in it. I believe actually he uses a lot of the same actors over and over, so I get confused as to which one is in which. But Days of Being Wild is also like very, very dark. But like this one is the only one that just focuses on a broken relationship like the entire time. There's a lot of broken relationships in his films, but generally speaking, there's a lot of other stuff going on. In this movie, there just isn't. You have these two, maybe like 2.5 characters basically, and that's all you have for the entire runtime of the movie, and it's pretty long. Oh,
and
a lot.
it's like that sort of the thing I was saying about like sort of the emotional reality of his movies is so important, and like more
Mhm.
important, like the literal reality, and also his movies often feel like a memory of an event rather
Yes.
than the events
Mhm.
as
Not
they're portrayed,
the
right?
actual event for sure.
And
Yeah.
I think that like this movie and sort of what Hunter was talking about, like the different frame rate stuff, is like you get a lot of sort of like short snippets of things, right? And it's one of the things I sort of found so moving about this movie is like you're getting like all these like very short little scenes of like violence or outburst, or like, you know, like you don't get an explanation of why he buys so many cigarettes, but like he remembers buying all those cigarettes because that is how because his lover kept going out, obviously to have sex with other guys or meet other guys,
Right.
and like the cigarettes was the way to trap him in there, right? But it's like you get these like small little fragments, and then you get like a long scene of like what I think is probably the best scene in the movie is like the long dance they do
Oh my god.
in
So
the
good.
like in the room, right? Like
Yeah.
that's it's so bright and colorful and long, and you really just kind of like live in that moment. And like that is like what I was talking about, like the way you remember things. Like you have like these small little fragments, and then these things that are like really important. Even though all this like chaos and violence and anger is happening between them, you have this like really beautiful touching moment that you remember with such texture and such
Mhm.
detail. And it's just like it's incredible movie making. And it, you know, again, going into like when this is so fascinating about the documentary that goes with this movie was like there some of the subplots, you guys, and different versions of events that he cut out. It's incredible that this movie ended up the way it did. There was so
Like, for
many
example,
characters. There's like a bunch of scenes of Tony's character becomes friends with like this nurse, who's like a Chinese woman who's like kind of in love with him, and he ends up like attempting to commit suicide, and she ends up moving in with him to take care of him, and it's
What?
like all these long scenes of her kind
That's like
of
a whole
nursing him
nother
back to health.
yeah,
movie.
that's for sure a whole other movie.
There's this other female character who constantly has a Game Boy with her that Tony goes on a few dates with, and he does bumper carts, and Chang is like kind of like obsessed with her and trying to get to know her as well. And they shot all these sequences with her
There's
and
always a
completely cut
worry
out all of that.
when you're an
Um,
actor that your scene's going to get cut, but when you have that much of a subplot, you got to assume it's going to make the final of the
I
movie.
think
What
they
a
probably know
bummer
who they're
for.
working with.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Well,
I
that's
feel
why-
like it's just the method at this point for
Yeah, that's why
them
I
is to just shoot a bunch.
you know, compared him to Malik, who like famously had the thing when Adrian Brody, you know, filmed The Thin Red Line, thought he
Right.
was the lead of the movie, and when he saw it, he's only in one scene, right? Like he just filmed so much stuff and just trying to like find something that's real. Like so everything with Chang, you know, because Leslie had to go back to go on tour. They were going to be in Buenos Aires for a few weeks, and they talk about this in the documentary that Wong Kar-wai just found that Chinese restaurant and he really loved it, and it was like, this has to be in my movie.
Yeah.
So they hired Chang, and they just improvised every single scene with him in the movie. They had no idea what the scenes really were. They just started filming them doing a bunch of stuff, you know,
He's
and like
like
going
the
out
funniest
places.
character. Like to explain the because with no explanation, if you haven't seen this movie, we've been calling him Dish Devil. So he washes dishes at this restaurant, and he does some eavesdropping, and he can tell what people are like thinking because of how their tone of their voice is. And then later he's like, yeah, I just couldn't see very well as a kid, so I got really into voices, and I can just hear people across the room. And he's like, they're about to fight, and then you hear skirt, and the chair pushes back, and some people get in a brawl, and you're like, so he's got like slightly superhero hearing. And then later he's like, will you record your voice? I don't like pictures, because he's the hearing guy. Anyway, it's kind of an adorable thing that they like, we gave you one thing, that's your thing,
I
have
like
this
that
thing.
Element a lot, actually. I liked everything with Chang.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like possibly like a potential like partner for Tony's character, but it's never
And a
really like they
much
don't really
better
do
one,
anything with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's sort of like this sort of hints when he talks about like a woman asked him out to a movie, and he's like, no, I like women with deeper voices and stuff like that. But it's never like really clear, and that's something I really liked about the relationship, is that sort of especially we are so like lucky, and it's like a hard-earned battle, but like sort of like queer cinema and queer art, and just like the idea of like being out and open in a place in 2022 is so different than it was in like 1997 Argentina or Hong Kong or even the States, right? And
yeah, I know nothing about what the culture was like in Argentina in 1997, and so I was kind of wondering, in a way, that this is clearly not what Wong Kar-wai is going to do. He's not going to tell you this. He's not going to explain all of this to you. But I was curious, like, what the acceptance level was there at that time, because they don't really. I assume it was not great. I assume it was difficult, but then it's just not the plot of the movie, so we don't see much about it.
Yeah, but also the way
and
that
they do a lot of PDA that seems safe.
Yeah, but it's also that like the same way that in the States, it wasn't like popular or like out in a lot of places, but there were like refuges that you could go to. There were places that understood it. There were these like things that like these communities that would build and like sort of find people around them, right? Like this movie has a scene in a porn theater, which is like obviously like where you would go. And that's another thing about like Tony's character, the way he's so like judgy towards Ho at the beginning of the movie, and his sort of promiscuity, and then slowly sinks down to that level once he gets lonely enough,
who knows?
But like it's just so interesting, the arc that he goes on to like get out of it at the end. It's just I thought this movie was so good, you guys.
It feels like we're getting to the end of this. I want to do a couple of quick things. I want to do first my Alexi's, my favorite tiny things in the movie. Number one, pretty good lamp. That was a cool ass lamp.
That lamp was nuts.
And the lamp, so there's a lamp that is like, it's got a moving piece, so it makes a waterfall painted on the outside look like it's waterfalling. And it was such a good lamp that they were like, we should see this real waterfall. And then they go to the waterfall, and the waterfall is also very good. So cool lamp, cool waterfall for sure.
Besides Aladdin,
the waterfall.
Wait, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say the sort of like the juxtaposition of at the end, he gets to the waterfall and Ho repairs the lamp to be at the waterfall that way, right? Like,
although I do feel like either of them could go to that waterfall for like $3 on a bus anytime they wanted to, but they always choose to rent a car and get lost. So there is some like self-inflicted non-waterfalls for both of them.
It was tough to get $3 though. They had to win that whole soccer game.
Yeah.
That's true. They had to win. Man, soccer on cobblestone road is so brutal. The shin splints, if you get bumped and fall over, it's so dangerous. That's intense. But this is why if you watch like Brazilian or Argentinian soccer players in like the English Premier League, you can tell almost right away, because they do more juggling of the ball. They do more touches in the air because it's very common to grow up and play like futsal on these little hard ground courts, and so they learn a different kind of ball handling. Super interesting. Okay. Sorry, actually, as you were going to say something there.
I was just going to say, are there any other pivotal lamps aside from Aladdin that you guys can think of, I guess, in movies? Like,
Christmas Story.
Okay, yeah. It's important.
Has a very famous lamp.
Oh yeah, Christmas Story, famous lamp. Pulp Fiction, it's not the lamp, it's the little kangaroo next to the lamp, but that's like a crucial thing with the watch.
Right,
that almost gets Bruce Willis killed. That was close. But yeah, Christmas Story is the most famous lamp in movies, I think.
That's a big lamp.
Okay. Good. Lamp talk is done.
Good. And lamp talk. Okay, two more quick Alexi's. One, when he cracks an egg to make scrambled eggs, one-handed, badass. Love it. Love that the actor can just as one of his many skills can do a one-handed egg.
While sick, right?
Yeah, while sick with a cold. Yeah. So definitely,
So
and
rude.
Smoking. Wasn't he smoking a cigarette too? I think he was sick smoking a cigarette and cracked it with one hand
into the fried rice, I think.
Of all the things that Ho does that are incredibly toxic and really fucked up, that is what hit me the most. When he is sick with a fever and he goes, but will you make me food? I'm hungry.
You make me food.
Well, but the guy has no hands and cannot make himself food.
He can order food.
Well, he can't really pick up the phone.
No, you can just go downstairs, right? Get some food.
But no, I don't know. It's the way he is shivering, sweating.
Yeah, no, I know. It's very bad.
Obviously very sick, and he's like, "I need you to go make me food right now." It is so rude.
The other thing,
so
the other Alexi I
rude.
want to do is there's a scene where after he gets beaten up, he shows up covered in blood, and then he hugs him. And I do not like blood, and so I was like, oh, not a bloody hug. But then I remembered it's black and white, so it might have been chocolate sauce. So that hug might have smelled delicious.
Yeah.
So then, how do you explain later when Tony beats up some random guy? Is that because of all the
chocolate sauce?
Well, no.
Chocolate
Sorry. I was thinking that canonically it was blood,
I
but the
see.
prop was blood, because when you do black and
Prop
white
was
blood,
chocolate
sometimes
sauce.
it's just
Yeah.
chocolate sauce. So I was thinking maybe the actors were not covered in blood; they were covered in chocolate sauce, which would be
Absolutely
a
chocolate
delicious
sauce.
smelling hug. Although I like the
that.
interpretation better that he was like not beaten up. He was like, I borrowed the watch and then I went back, or I stole the watch from this guy and then I came back to him and he threw chocolate sauce on my face.
And
then he gave me these cool gloves that I haven't taken off for 6 months, even though they make it so I can't move my hands.
They're cool.
I did love that. Another one of those little moments that I just love the way Wong Kar-wai communicates big moments when he's at work drinking on the job, because apparently that's like all he does.
That's cool.
He's just outside on a smoke break, chugging from a bottle. He sees the guy walk in who beat up his boyfriend, and he just finishes off the bottle and just like in one motion walks in. You hear a commotion, and it cuts to him at a new job. It is. I love that kind of storytelling.
That was cool.
It is so elegant and amazing. It's awesome.
The last thing I want to say about this slightly negative thing about the way films are made. We've talked about this before about how dialogue is all mixed too low. Now, I will say this movie did a thing where the dialogue was mixed really low and the sex sounds were mixed really high. So I had to crank up the TV to hear the words, and then they start boning, and then I got to turn it way down so our neighbors don't think we're perverts. And then I can't hear the words, so I got to turn it way back up. But then they are talking in the middle of sex, so I got to turn it back down. It's a little frustrating.
You just gotta let those sex noises go through the house. You know what I mean? Like, and then
our neighbors are so nice.
Loudly,
I don't want them.
It's not porn, it's art. You could just say that.
You'll know it if you look at it. You'll know it if you look at it.
Porn is art too, though. Not to offend any pornographers in my building.
All right, we have so much more we have to get done before we go. So last thoughts.
Oh, it's not like, the volume affects the subtitles being readable.
No, that's actually an advantage of this being a reading movie, is that it's not as important as mixed low, but it's just that the sex noises were so high. Yeah. Okay, so now we have to rank this movie from 1 to 32. Where does Happy Together from 1997 fall in the list of greatest movies of all time of season 2?
I like to think that we're the only people ever who are trying to figure out which is better, Avengers Endgame or Happy Together.
We're probably got to be the first people to ever rank Battleship Potemkin and Shrek and Happy Together on the same list. It's clearly,
for the record, Battleship Potemkin is beating Shrek. That's the wildest.
Well, everything's beating Shrek except for two things. Except for
the
Transformers the movie and Rush Hour 2, the worst movie of all time.
Yeah.
Literally propaganda. What is Shrek propaganda for exactly? Farts?
Can you give me the top 5 of the list?
Top 5. The Third Man, Edge of Tomorrow, The Lion King, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Iron Giant are our top 5 films.
I'm going to go with number 2. I think this is right behind The Third Man in terms of
all right. Anthony votes 2.
Incredible movies.
Hunter, what do you think?
I'm gonna vote. I agree with what Anthony just said, but I gotta vote my personal bias, which is that I would give it number 1. It's probably my top 20 films personally of all time, whereas Third Man's probably in top 50.
Interesting. Okay, so 3 points so far, or I guess Anthony, if you said it's second, that we're gonna call that 1.5, right? Because it would be above 1. So we're 1.5 plus number 1. Ezra, so let's do it to him. What happens now?
So
just give me your honest read.
Thinking about this was somewhere basically between like Dead Ringers and In the Cut, that's sort of my area of like these are the good things that are not for me. I think is the best way I could put this.
I think that's exactly where I was looking. I was like, this is like Out of Sight, where I didn't entirely enjoy the experience, but I understand that it's good.
You mean In the Cut?
Oh, sorry. In the Cut.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way down there. Sorry.
Round,
yes.
19.
Out of Sight. Yeah.
Out of Sight.
Okay.
14. I'm gonna I'll be the most generous I can about this. I think for myself, which is I think 14.5, so right above Dead Ringers, because I think
that's more than fair, Ezra, and I feel bad that I had you as somebody that loves to get people into Wong Kar-wai. It was the biggest regret of mine getting about 30 minutes into it and being like, this is such a bad one to start on, like for you in particular, Ezra.
I'll try it again, man. I'll do
please,
Alex
watch
like the other one.
Chungking Express. It's like the most charming film you've ever seen. Like, you
so
should definitely
sorry, I was confused about In the Cut. I think this is around In the Cut in that it was like good, but I didn't enjoy it. But this is significantly better for me still than like Planes, Trains, or Battleship Potemkin. And I liked it more than Dead Ringers. But yeah, the Out of Sight, Michael Clayton is where things get kind of tough. So I'm going to say the same thing. I think 14.5 is where I am going to place it as well.
That's a wild range.
Yeah, it is a very funny range. I like that a lot about this. Probably, I mean, easily our weirdest range. But what that does is it ends us up at 8.625, or the 9th best movie of all time, right between The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Batman.
Perfect.
Which I feel like as a list representing anything doesn't make any sense, but except for the four of us together, like as a list representing us as a group,
that's the whole
I think
point of the list.
Yeah.
No, those are all good movies. What are you talking about? These are all good movies. I mean,
you're saying Happy Together is better than Batman? That's quite an achievement.
Oh, okay. Well, so now we have a bunch more business to do. So, Hunter, this was your pick for movies. This is your second pick after Battleship Potemkin, which you got 10 points for. This one you only get 5, just like a normal person. Congratulations, you've just received 5 points. Before you arrange them, Ezra, what is the official score currently?
Oh, let me pull it up.
Great.
Okay,
while you do that, Hunter, I guess maybe you can go ahead.
No, I got it. Okay, in 4th place, Alex with 11. 3rd place, Hunter, 12. 2nd place, Anthony, 13. Ezra, 1st place, 14.
All right, Hunter, 5 big points. What are you going to do?
What was the? I'm literally just not remembering what the agreement on the split was. So could someone just tell me what the agreement on the split was? I think I have to give
2, and you give 1 to me, and you give 2 to Tony.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I got one before when you. Okay, yes. So I will do that. I'm not breaking any deals here at this point. Where it's only October.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm gonna stay a man of my word.
So you take 2 for yourself. You give 2 to Anthony, and you give 1 to Ezra.
Yeah.
Ezra, what does that do to our scores?
Alex, 4th place, 11.
I hate this.
Hunter, now still 3rd place, but 14. And then me and Tony, we have 15 each.
Wow. Okay. Next order of business, Hunter, since we've taken one of the items off your list, what is your next target movie?
I forgot to think about this part again.
Oh shit. This
is would it screw anything up if you waited till next week to pick?
No, it wouldn't.
Well, we don't know who's picking next, do we?
And we don't. We're reshuffling. So he would announce before we shuffled.
Ooh, okay. So I have to announce before the shuffle, anyways.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if we waited till next week, but before the shuffle, would that be okay?
That actually seems like kind of unfair, though, because then I could pick a movie knowing that I can very quickly make a deal.
That's true now too.
But I kind of like picking a movie that I want to watch.
The only difference is it's going to be you'd pick before or after my pick today. That's the one thing you don't know that would change. So I guess you have to pick now before I pick my movie for this week.
Okay.
Okay, so Alex, you were picking a movie. We're not redrawing today.
Sorry, we're redrawing next week. Today, it's my choice. The end of round 8 is me. I'm got a final pick.
Gotcha.
I'm just afraid if I pick something too weird again, then
we don't have 6
never
months to come to it.
We will literally run out of time. Before we get to it. So I have to think of something.
End game time.
Yeah, I have to think of something kind of normie that I want to watch.
So I got Virgin Suicides. But I'm a Cheerleader. And Ezra, you have Cinderella
from 1997.
Okay. That's right.
Cinderella, 1997. Let's do. We were talking about the Wachowskis earlier, and I actually watched this movie earlier in the year, but I really liked it a lot, and I think it would be just like a great movie for us to talk about. Have y'all ever seen the first movie directed by the Wachowskis, which is called Bound?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen Bound?
Yeah, I've seen Bound.
I thought for sure you were doing I thought for sure you're doing a bit where you're going to be like, have you guys seen The Matrix?
No. Actually, though, I would kind of like to watch The Matrix.
That'd be cool, too. You could definitely do that.
Still possible.
Wait,
but Bound
no,
is from
no.
1996.
I know what I want. I want to watch Blowout. I changed it to Blowout by Brian De Palma because I wanted to watch that earlier this year, and I didn't get
Okay,
to.
wow,
John
interesting. Big swing. So, so we're going to Blowout from 1981, which features, among other people, John Travolta, Nancy Allen, and John Lithgow. So we got
I've never
some people.
seen it for the record, so I don't know anything about it. But
Why are you picking it then?
Because I want to watch it.
Oh, okay. But what do you know about it?
I don't really know anything about it. I know it's a kind of a Hitchcock movie, like a weird, like kind of thriller type movie.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like a slasher, and I ever since I got into Giallo, I've been thinking about slashers a lot, and Blowout seems like a very weird kind of slasher type movie.
Okay, slasher type. Also, if possible, we can get to it during Spooky Month, so that's fun.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's going to be an interesting part of this game, is seeing if we can get to some spooky movies in October. Okay. Last item of business here for the game is that it's my turn to pick as round 8 comes to a close. And let me just tell you guys this. There's a lot of good things I could go from this movie. Probably. I can't think of any. But here's what I can tell you.
Infernal Affairs.
Oh, that would be badass. But
what is Infernal Affairs?
It's the movie that The Departed is a remake of. It's got...
Oh.
There's Tony Leung in it.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we just take Tony to get here, so you couldn't anyway?
Yeah, we can't do Tony.
Well, let me just save you guys too much time and keep the show moving along.
Can I guess what you're going to do?
Yes.
Reset the bacon?
Reset to bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And either Digging to China or The Air I Breathe.
I mean, you could do Stir of Echoes if you wanted to do a spooky one.
All right, you guys are doing great. But let me just save you guys the suspicion. This has been a fun guessing game. But let me just tell you this piece of information, see if this changes anything for you. Happy Together was shot in 1.85 to 1 on 35 millimeter film with a spherical cinematographic process, which is exactly the same as But I'm a Cheerleader. So I'm going to play my power card where I get to move to a movie shot in the same aspect ratio. And after you three teamed up against me and had to share all your stupid points, I'm getting all these points for myself, baby, from last to first. It's going to be a big turnaround. We're watching But I'm a Cheerleader this week.
Awesome. I love that movie.
I already announced it. So whatever you're going to try to play, it's too late. I already did it.
Oh, dude.
Alex, I have a power card.
I've already played it. We've already picked the movie. So tell me
but you can't just do that. You can't just speed through the window like that. That's not fair.
I gave you so much time. I talked about all of your bullshit movies.
You were kind of you were busy gloating.
It's going to be another constitutional crisis, guys. Let's see if this happens.
All right, what do you got? Let's
can force anyone to change their target movie.
Does it say anytime?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think if you play that right now, you can make Alex change the target movie. We're already locked into But I'm a Cheerleader.
Yeah, we're locked into But I'm a Cheerleader. It's fine. We get to watch But I'm a Cheerleader.
Do it.
We didn't rush through it. Actually, this is the perfect timing for this card. This is a messed up card.
So
by the way.
Have you played this card yet, Ezra?
No, definitely have not played this card.
So in this time, I have played my card and you have not played your card.
I have not played it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could play my power card, make everyone discard all of their cards.
No, you just played a power card. You can't play two in a thing. We've
Since when?
All right, well,
Ezra,
play your card right now. Play your card right now before Alex does that. Change the target movie.
No, Wait, Alex, are you still there?
Yeah.
I'm frozen, sorry. Okay, so we're at this
instead
standoff?
of making you throw this away,
yes,
I'm just going to believe that you won't do this.
You're right.
This is the only thing that keeps me in the game. You guys ran away with this without help, including me at all. You teamed up against me after Hunter agreed to try to push me as a winner.
We didn't team up against you.
You teamed up against you three-wayed to break even for the three of you for an entire round and leave me in the dust. And all this does is keeps me in the game.
Helping at all? Like we found some cooperation between the three of us. Like it's not like we excluded you from it. It's just that you had no part to play.
All right. Constitutional crisis, I think, is averted. I am not playing this card. The nuclear option, I think, can be off the table, Alex.
Why are you not playing the code, though? Seriously. I have a genuine question. Like, what?
I would feel... Because here's the thing. I think Alex needs this, and I feel bad. And that's a real reason.
I also think
Wait, you think I need this in my life, not just like on the game?
No, in the game. I think you have a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
Look, you had viral hits on 2 channels. I think you're doing great, buddy.
Also, like, I don't know if you should play that card because that card that's messed up. I think you should get rid of that card.
Honestly, I think that's why you should play it, because I don't want that card out there floating around.
Well, everyone know
like
that I have this.
Yo, like, that card will just take someone out of the game, because if you set their target
what's crazy
movie
about
to
that card is you could also say after somebody picks next week, you could just change your target movie to their whatever movie they've already picked.
That's a good point.
You
There's
could use
a lot
it
of
for
ways
good.
this can go sideways.
I hate this card.
Well, you can blow it all up if you want. But yeah, I'm not playing it now. I'm gonna keep on. Everyone knows that I have this, or maybe I don't, because I could be lying about this also. And you can make up any single card, and it's very believable.
If you just said you had a card and I don't remember it being on the list, I would never question it. I would just be like, of course, that's the card. Oh, you have the card that Hunter doesn't get a turn this round? That makes sense.
I actually do have that card.
All right. We're watching But I'm a Cheerleader. Constitutional crisis over. Card playing time has ended. We have one more thing to do before we go, and that is talk about Zach, the meat buddy. We can make this real nice and cute. So Zach wrote in. You may remember Zach donated Forever Ago as a cutlet, but recently, so already got a poorly done segment. His words, not ours. But if is willing to take another if we're going to give one. And so Zach says, if you want to give me more travel tips and hints, it would be great. In 2 weeks, I'm going on my first international trip since the pandemic started. Zach from Seattle. So we're doing international travel tips, or just travel tips in general, for Zach from Seattle. Incidentally, the viral tweet that I had yesterday, I just want to tell you guys this, is about basically the premise was just like, I got bumped up to first class and I was like, oh, this is not insanely luxurious. This is just like an adult-sized chair and you're not actively mean to me. This is just like how normal life should be. And like we're acting like this is like finally first class. I feel not uncomfortable. Anyway, the internet is so stupid that an international business magazine reporter reached out and asked to do a phone interview about my thoughts on travel because of my one joke about. Yeah, of course. The problem is she's in Zurich, so we have to figure out a time we can actually record. But it's just like a wild, like what this is the media now. It's just like viral tweet that's like, hey, first class is only okay. That's our story. It's wild. But I will say that only applies to domestic flights. Obviously, international first class is very different.
Yeah, there's some real stuff there.
That's good. Yeah, this isn't like international first class. They're like, this is your bathtub and this is your sauna area, and then on domestic pod. Your own fuck tricks. But on domestic flights, they're just like, your coffee is in a real cup. I hope you enjoy. Anyway, okay. It is wild. The first time you get silverware on a plane, you're like, I didn't know you could do this. That's crazy. You're just going to wash this in your tiny sink? And the answer is that they might, maybe. Because it's your first class. It's worth it. Anyway, okay. What do you guys have for travel hints? That was me stalling. So you guys look at think of travel hints.
Okay. Do we know where he's going?
I do not know. First international trip since pandemic.
He's not in currently. That's all.
That's correct. Not currently in Seattle.
Passports. It's a good one. It's important.
Check the drawer.
Yeah, check the drawer.
If you don't know where your passport is, always check the drawer.
You should go somewhere that's really hard to get to, and people say that if you go there, maybe it'll be dangerous. You should do that. Because then maybe you'll be fine, and then it'll be great. You can whisper your secret into the rock as you. That's also true. Yeah. You could go somewhere where you can whisper.
I would say this is
what the lamp want you to do.
Yeah. So first of all, have you consulted a lamp? That'll tell you where to go. Second of all, I will say, even though there's like stories about a temple or a lighthouse, you can just whisper secrets into anything when you're traveling. You can't do it at home. But this is a little known travel hack. When you're traveling. Any building, if you whisper a secret, has to maintain that secret forever.
Wow.
Tourist building confidentiality.
Yeah, exactly. That's legally binding. I think that's part of the Geneva Conventions.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to give the building $1 first.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't count as...
Right.
You have to
enact
follow
the
in the thing.
contract.
It doesn't count.
There has to be money exchanged somehow. Yeah.
That's very important. You have to remember that.
This is good travel tips.
Yeah.
So I have two laws of traveling that I follow for myself. My 2 laws of traveling, this applies internationally as well as at home. My 2 laws of traveling are never pass up a piss. So if you're about to leave, pee before you leave. If there's a place to pee,
Always.
take it. Because the next place you get to, if you're like, I can hold it for an hour or whatever, it always takes 2 hours, and the place you get there is not have a bathroom. Like you just never pass up a piss. And then 2 is ABC, always be charging. If there is a place that your phone can be charging, charge your phone. You don't know how long it's going to be. Just take every opportunity to charge.
I had a game changer on that one. So I have like a pretty good size like brick basically that's like maybe 10 phone charges on it, and also it's like solar powered. And it's like
10 sounds like it's too heavy. I wouldn't carry that.
No, it feels about as heavy as 2 phones maybe stacked up.
Yeah, I have a little lipstick one that's got 2 charges on it, I think, but that's been very helpful too. But that's the same thing. If you have a brick, same thing applies. If your phone is at 70%, but you're sitting for a while, plug it into the brick. Just take the charge when you have the charge. Always be charging.
Offline maps for Google Maps on your app.
That's solid.
I like a lot. Also, always be eating. I was going to say as well. Like, don't miss a chance to eat.
I don't know if that's. It's not that helpful. One of my problems with eating if traveling is I always overeat. But
I don't know who you're with, but sometimes if you're with small humans, they get very hungry, and it can be tough to feed them in a timely manner. And so get some snacks.
Children.
Well, so a flip side of that is I recommend if you can when you're traveling, travel with moms, because she's always got Cheerios in her bag. There's always a snack if you get hangry.
Yeah, I got a bar for you.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good to have. I don't always carry bars. I do actually usually carry bars, but still, it's nice to have a mom with Cheerios. Bars are also one of my go-tos. Another thing that I do, this matters probably less to some people, but I always bring a little Google Chrome, a Chromecast, little HDMI thing that I can throw into a hotel TV and then watch what I actually want to watch from my laptop on the big screen. So
that's cool.
That's a cute little way to watch the big things. And it's easier than carrying, like, my sister brings like a whole like HDMI setup so she can plug it in, but a little Chromecast is like $30.
I'm pretty sure if you know where to look, you can like get work on like a big like shipping freighter still, and they'll just like take you to Asia.
I love this.
It does take like
I've always wanted to do this. I don't know if this is still true. I think that stopped during COVID, but I don't know if it's back now.
Yeah, hopefully it's back, and then that way you'll get free travel, but you will have to work for it, and it will take a long time to get.
If you want to,
I don't know where you're going.
Places always need the dishes washed.
That's so true.
If you ever need
you
money,
can work as a dishwasher.
Yeah,
I would. Okay, this is on my bucket list. Is I would love to go to a restaurant, realize I've forgotten my wallet, and have to wash dishes until I've earned the meal. That's just like a thing that happens in movies a lot, and I've never experienced. I would try it sometime.
Well, I always wanted to go into a place that had a now hiring sign in the window and just take the sign down myself and just walk up and be like, I'm starting today. Like that to me has always been on one of my movie bucket lists.
Similar sign bucket list. I want to go into a place that's open and then like behind me flip it to close and then like walk towards the back. And
that's good.
Like, hopefully not.
Another movie bucket list I have is I've always wanted to say to a group of people, give us the room.
Oh,
and then everyone else leaves. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I feel like is a restaurant actually going to have you do the dishes? I feel like they won't. Like,
no,
I
they
assume
would just
they
call
won't.
the police most of the time. I believe that's what they actually do.
Yeah, we have a dishwasher.
They just call the cops.
Yeah, they probably do have a dishwasher.
Yeah, they don't want to do like paperwork for some stranger.
Well, no. So what you do is, first you call the restaurant, ask for the dishwasher, and then say like, hey, your family just died in a car crash, and then they go running out, and then you're like, hey, I hear you need a dishwasher. Can I work off this meal?
I heard your dishwasher just ran out on you.
No, what you do is you take the money you were gonna spend on the meal. You go to the dishwasher, you put it in their hands, and say, "Why don't you take the night off?" And then,
then you get another double bucket list in the same night.
I don't have the money because I paid your dishwasher off, so you need to.
I know for a fact you need a dishwasher right now.
I would also love to someday receive one of those novelty checks. I would like to be paid in a large cardboard check. That's on the list.
I want to use big scissors to cut
something
ribbon.
big. Yeah, basically any large office supply I'm in for. Yeah, I would love to use giant scissors to open a restaurant or something.
I want the key to the city. You know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I bet they still do that. The problem is the word "the" is a lie. It's a key to the city. A lot of people
key
have
to
that.
A key to
a
us
part
city.
of
We
the
don't
city.
know
It's
which
not
one
like
it is.
anyone who wants to get into the city has to check in with you. They're all
This
over
is
the
for
place.
one of the cities, so
Yes.
you're just going to need to walk around with it for a while.
Well, no, it's a key to the city, or I guess you could get a key to a city, where it's like
It's a
you got to
city
figure out
for
what
sure.
city this is for. It might be
But-
Des Moines. You have no idea.
To get back to the
Yeah, let's wrap up on
thing.
travel.
Oh,
Does Zach
travel,
have any other tips?
travel.
Look, be safe, be responsible, but do be open to experiences.
Uh-huh.
Half the fun of traveling is, meeting interesting people, doing interesting things.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you get a bad vibe, definitely check out. But if you're not getting bad vibes and things just seem a little sketchy, go with it. It might be fun.
Yeah,
that's
what
If
I
you're getting a
say.
medium vibe,
Listen,
stick it out.
Yeah, just a
If
medium
you find
vibe,
a
stick
bad
out.
vibe, run towards it.
Yeah.
Find it. Get involved in a plot.
Yeah.
If you look, I don't know. Look, maybe if you are like Ezra and you're traveling with kids, don't do this. But if you're young, if you're in your early 20s, you're traveling abroad, you get a chance to like go do a bunch of coke in some stranger's hotel room. Go for it. It's gonna be a good time.
You don't.
Yeah, I think
you do not. No, you do not do drugs in a hotel room with somebody you don't know. That's how you wake up without a kidney. And I want both of mine. I
Right.
need
That's
them.
why you got to
Are
do
you
it in a
using them,
neutral
really?
place like a
I'm
diner.
processing a lot of salt.
Yeah.
Right. Or just like at lunch in broad daylight. Because
Yeah,
like
that would
what's
be
going to
fun.
happen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we've pretty much solved it, Zach. That's how you travel internationally. Read and Weep is no refunds, but
Unless
we're
you're
glad to help.
traveling internationally to a place where drugs can really get you sent to prison, then don't do drugs.
Yeah, if this is a place where
Definitely
you get
avoid-
caned if they caught you, don't do it.
Just bag
Yeah.
awareness overall. Right? Don't let anyone plant drugs in you.
If you're like traveling in like some Southeast Asian countries, or I recently learned a bunch of Scandinavian countries, which even with pot, can you end up in like felony year charges? I didn't know Scandinavia has such hard drug laws. Explains why their metal is so intense, I guess. But
because they're sober or because they're afraid of the law.
That's what explains it.
They're sober and they're just angry. They can't get
okay.
high.
We're gonna wrap up. That was all you needed, Zach. That's all the tips you need. That's all the tips you deserve from us. But we really appreciate you becoming a meat buddy. If you guys want to join Zach by supporting this train as it hobbles down the tracks, but also you want some amazing segment with your name involved in it like this, go to Metreon.com, and we really appreciate everybody who helps support the show. Last thing today, we have one other email I want to read. This comes from Jonathan, and it's called The Road Not Taken. Hey, Alex, I just want to let you guys know I found another path from Shrek to Hero that might have been more fun. From Shrek, Vincent Cassel takes you to Brotherhood of the Wolf, a kung fu werewolf movie set in the 17th century. And from there, Mark Dacascos takes you to Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li and DMX.
Yeah.
And then Jet Li takes you to Hero. I haven't seen Cradle to the Grave, so maybe it isn't better than Rush Hour 2. It for sure is. I guarantee. I haven't seen it either.
It's absolutely better than Rush Hour.
Of course it is. But Brotherhood of the Wolf is almost certainly more entertaining than that RDJ movie. Yeah, I feel like now that I know this, I'm mad at you guys.
I literally said it wasn't my pick. I first jokingly said Irreversible. Hunter said, of course not. And I understand that. And then I said Brotherhood of the Wolf. I said that on the recording. You can check the tape.
There's literally no way to know if that's true, but I'll take your word for it.
We didn't have the runway for that. All right, we needed to get there as fast as we could.
It's the same number of movies. It's just a more enjoyable time.
No. It was wherever we were at. It was just Rush Hour 2, and then Hero.
We'd already gone to.
No, we watched that Robert Downey Jr. movie.
Right.
What Robert Downey Jr. movie?
The one with the reincarnation.
Oh my God, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah. We watched Chances Are. So this is from Shrek to Hero. Instead of going Chances Are Rush Hour 2, he's saying we could have gone through a 17th century werewolf movie, a kung fu werewolf movie, and then Cradle to the Grave instead of Rush Hour 2.
I don't think we
same number of movies, way better time.
I don't think we had planned Rush Hour 2 when we picked Chances Are. I think Rush Hour 2 I think came out I think we realized it at the moment after the fact.
I think you're right.
So we were already locked in. I think you were just trying to guess generally like the MCU or something like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Jonathan's path sounds way more fun, and I'm kind of annoyed that you guys didn't figure this out. I would have liked to have seen it. Now I kind of want to see. Maybe I'll make that my next pick. And we'll
Alex, maybe if you helped us out
now.
more, if you were more helpful, then maybe we would have seen these great paths.
If I was more helpful, if I had helped more.
Yes.
The person who was not consulted on this master plan that actively hurt him. All right, anyway, we got to go. That's it. Thank you so much for listening to Read and Weep. We'll be back again next week. You can always email us podcast at read-weep.com. Let us know paths not taken and happier lives not lived. We especially appreciate all the Meat Buddies who support the show by going to Metreon.com. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Make sure you check out my new YouTube video, youtube.com/AlexFalcone, and you can see my TikTok on TikTok. There you can see me talking about movies on all the platforms. If you like hearing me talk about movies, those are 2 places you can do it. Thanks for being here, Anthony Lopez. Sorry, Tony, for the day. Let's see, last time. Let's get our money's worth.
Yeah, let's get it out. Ezra, I really am upset you didn't play that code. I'm just saying it right now.
Also, thanks for joining us, other Tony.
Yeah, hey, thank you.
And thanks for being here, Big Papa. We really appreciate it.
Giving ends to my friends.
All right, we'll talk to everybody next week. Goodbye.
Bye.